It's 2 in the morning. You're staring at the ceiling. Your phone is face down beside you because you already know checking it will make this worse. Your mind is doing that thing again. Replaying a conversation from 3 days ago, drafting emails you'll never send. You feel broken. You feel like something is wrong with you. But the real answer is far stranger. For most of human history, waking up in the middle of the night wasn't a malfunction. It was Tuesday. Historian Roger Ekirch spent over a decade digging through old court records, diaries, and medical texts from before the industrial era. And he found something strange. Hundreds of documents casually mentioned a first sleep and a second sleep, as if everyone already knew what that meant. People went to bed a couple of hours after dusk. They slept for 3 or 4 hours. Then they woke up. Not from a nightmare, not from stress. They just woke up, wide awake, in the dark, for an hour or two, before drifting into a second sleep until morning. And in that gap, they didn't panic. They prayed, they talked, they had sex, they visited neighbors. Some got up and did quiet chores by candlelight. One physician from the 1500s casually recommended it as the best time to study because the mind was calm and undistracted. This wasn't insomnia. This was just how the night was shaped. So what changed? Light changed. Cheap, abundant, artificial light. Gas lamps, then electric bulbs, pushed bedtime later and later, compressing 2 separate sleeps into one exhausted block. Sleep researcher Thomas Ware ran an experiment in the 1990s that makes this almost impossible to ignore. He took a group of people and put them in a room with no artificial light for 14 hours a night, mimicking a long, ancient winter night. Within weeks, without anyone telling them to, their sleep split in two. First sleep, a quiet, waking period. Second sleep, their bodies remembered a rhythm modern life had erased. Think about that for a second. Your ancestors weren't fighting their biology at night. You are. But here's where it gets stranger. Because segmented sleep is only half the story. The bigger question is, what our hunter-gatherer ancestors were actually doing before bed at all, and whether their nights even looked like Ekirch's candlelit Europe. UCLA sleep researcher Jerome Siegel wanted a cleaner answer. So instead of digging through old diaries, he went looking for living communities untouched by electricity. He and his team studied 3 groups: the Hadza of Tanzania, the San of Namibia, and the Simane of Bolivia. Hunter-gatherer and forager societies with no artificial light, no clocks, no scheduled bedtimes. He gave them wrist monitors and tracked their sleep for weeks.
What he found broke almost every assumption people had about natural sleep. They didn't go to bed at sunset. They stayed up for hours after dark, talking around the fire, doing nothing in particular, the way you might scroll your phone before bed. They didn't sleep in 2 segmented blocks like Ekirch's Europeans. They slept in one continuous stretch, and it was short. Around 6.5 hours a night, less than most modern sleep guidelines recommend. And almost none of them napped. So which is it? Was ancient sleep split in 2, or was it one short continuous stretch? The uncomfortable answer is both, depending on which ancient you mean. Ekirch's evidence comes from pre-industrial Europe, farmers and city dwellers living by candlelight centuries ago. Siegel's evidence comes from present-day hunter-gatherers whose lifestyle echoes something even older, the deep hunting and gathering past that shaped human biology in the first place. Different environments, different rhythms, both fully human. What connects them isn't a single sleep pattern.
It's the absence of anxiety about the pattern itself. None of these groups, past or present, seem to worry about sleep the way you do. Nobody in the Hadza camp is Googling how to fix my sleep schedule. Nobody lying awake in a 17th century farmhouse felt broken because their first sleep ended early. The waking itself wasn't the problem. Something else was missing that we have in abundance now. Fear. Psychologist and sleep researcher Kenneth Wright, who has run some of the most detailed studies on how modern light exposure warps our internal clock, points to something simple but easy to miss. Ancient nights had darkness, but they also had safety in numbers, and eventually, culturally, a shared understanding that nighttime waking was normal. Modern nights have neither. You wake up alone, in a silent house, and your brain doesn't interpret that as ancient rhythm resurfacing. It interprets it as something is wrong, because you've been told your entire life that a full, unbroken 8 hours is the only correct way to sleep. That belief is barely a century old. It arrived with the light bulb and stayed because it was convenient for factories, then for offices, then for you. Your brain doesn't know that though. It just knows the culture around it treats a 2 a.m. wake-up as a crisis. So the moment you open your eyes in the dark, your nervous system floods with a question your ancestors never had to ask. Is something wrong with me? For most of human history, the honest answer was no. The night simply had a shape most of us have forgotten. A first sleep, a quiet, wakeful hour, a second sleep, or, in Siegel's hunter-gatherer camps, a long evening by the fire, a single deep sleep, and a body that never expected 8 consecutive hours to begin with. Here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. Both of these groups, the pre-industrial Europeans and the modern hunter-gatherers, were exposed to the same evening cue your body still responds to right now, even under fluorescent light and blue screens. Cooling temperature. As the air cools after sunset, a hormone called melatonin rises, and it doesn't just make you sleepy, it tells your body a long period of rest is beginning, whether that period ends up being broken into 2 pieces or stretched into one short, continuous block. Your thermostat-controlled bedroom, held at a steady 70 degrees all night, never gives that signal properly. You're missing a cue your ancestors got for free every single night without trying. So the next time you wake up at 3 in the morning staring at the ceiling, consider a different story than the one panic wants to tell you. Maybe you're not broken. Maybe some old, patient part of your biology just did something it has done for hundreds of thousands of years. And the only thing that's changed is that nobody warned you it was allowed to happen. Ekirch found the note-takers. Siegel found the campfires. Wright found the missing darkness. Together, they point at the same quiet truth. The night was never meant to be one unbroken block, held together by willpower and an alarm clock app. It was meant to breathe. 2 sleeps, or 1 wakeful hour or none, your ancestors trusted the dark. Somewhere between gas lamps and glowing screens, you stopped. Tonight, when you wake up at 2 in the morning, you might feel that old flicker of panic rising in your chest. Try something different this time. Don't reach for your phone. Don't check the clock. Just lie there, in the dark, the way people did for most of human history, and let your mind be quiet for a while. You're not failing at sleep. You're remembering it.